and ensuring a clean slate for the restoration process. After countless hours of effort, I finally managed to clean off all the rust from the chassis and frame components. Seeing the bare metal shine through again is a small victory, but I know this is just the beginning of the hard work ahead. The next stage involves the most challenging part of the restoration, repairing the chassis and body panels. This is where the real test of patience and skill begins, as these components are in some of the worst condition I've ever seen. My journey with this old Fiat 126P is far from over. It has been an emotional roller coaster, filled with moments of excitement, frustration, and determination. I bought this car for what I thought was a bargain, 6,000 yuan. At the time, I believed I'd found a hidden gem, a vintage 1980s millionaire's ride that just needed a bit of TLC to restore its former glory. But as soon as I got it home, reality came crashing down. The chassis was in shambles with large sections completely rusted through. There was even a massive hole in the floor that you could see right through. Repairing the engine had already tested my patience, but the state of the chassis left me absolutely speechless. However, there's no turning back now. The car is mine, and I've committed to fixing it. No shortcuts, no excuses. It's all or nothing. The interior, unsurprisingly, was another disaster. It was filthy, packed with random junk, and reeked of damp neglect. The overwhelming odor was the first thing I had to tackle. I started by removing the seats, floor mats, and insulation, and as I dug deeper, the extent of the damage became even more apparent. Beneath the seats, I discovered layer upon layer of rotted floor material. 1, 2, 3, 4 layers deep. The floor itself was so deteriorated that stepping on it felt like it might give way at any moment. The main beams of the chassis were heavily corroded, and the body panels were riddled with holes and rust. At this point, the only logical step was to strip the car down to its bare bones and assess what could be salvaged. When I share these updates, I sometimes receive messages from people telling me I spend too much time complaining about the car's condition. Stop pointing out the problems and just get to work, they say. And honestly, they're right. Complaining won't fix anything, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed when you're constantly focused on the negatives. So I've decided to approach this restoration with a new mindset, tackling each challenge head-on. And let's be real, with how much stress this project has caused, my hairline doesn't need any more excuses to recede. The only way forward is to pick up the pace, stay focused, and get the job done. After many hours of relentless effort, I finally managed to weld the passenger side floor. It was a grueling process, but seeing it come together felt like real progress. Unfortunately, the driver's side is proving to be an even bigger challenge. Just look at the mess. It's crumbling everywhere I press. The damage is extensive and almost overwhelming. Repairing this section is going to require immense patience and precision. You can't rush this kind of work, especially when dealing with such fragile components. Restoring an old car isn't just about technical skill. It's about perseverance and accepting that some parts will take much longer than others. And yes, it takes a toll on your energy, your time, and even your hairline. I'm sure some of you following my journey have noticed my hair getting thinner as the restoration drags on. But that's all part of the experience, right? Despite the challenges and frustrations, there's an undeniable joy in bringing something like this back to life. It's a mix of pain and satisfaction that only comes from taking on a project this ambitious. Every small victory, whether it's welding a floor panel, sanding down a rusted component, or seeing the chassis slowly take shape, makes the struggle worthwhile. It's these moments that keep me going, even when the road ahead feels impossibly long. This project is about more than just fixing a car. It's about preserving a piece of history and giving it a second chance. It's about taking something forgotten and neglected and breathing new life into it. Sure, the journey is filled with setbacks and frustrations, but it's also deeply rewarding. Every piece I restore, every panel I repair, brings me closer to seeing this Fiat 126P fully transformed. I can already imagine the day it rolls out of the workshop, gleaming with pride and ready to hit the road once again. Hello everyone! After several days of hard work, I'm finally seeing some real progress on this project. Both the driver's and passenger's floor panels have been completely welded and restored. Take a look at the results. The new sections were carefully shaped using a sheet metal brake to match the car's original design as closely as possible. All the corroded and rotted areas were cut out and replaced with fresh metal. Once everything is fully repaired, I'll apply a protective primer coat followed by anti-rust paint to ensure the longevity of these repairs. With the floor panels done, it's time to tackle the next big challenge, restoring the body panels. To do this, I'll need to strip the car down completely, removing all the exterior parts to access the damaged areas. While working on the disassembly, I stumbled upon what I can only describe as a hidden treasure. There was a small pouch filled with tools, a spare tire, some ropes, and bits of padding. At first glance, it might not seem like much, but for me, these items are treasures. It's incredibly rare to find a car like this, with its original spare tire and jack still intact. There were also tools like pliers, screwdrivers, and wrenches, things that are not just practical but add to the car's story. Digging further, I came across an old battery. It's no longer functional, but it's almost like a relic from another era, a fascinating piece of the car's history. Moving to the front of the car, I inspected the hood and found severe corrosion in multiple spots. There's no quick fix for this. It'll require precise welding and careful hammering to restore it to its proper shape. It's a time-consuming process, but there's a unique satisfaction in slowly bringing it back to life. For me, the most rewarding part of every day is seeing this car gradually transform, piece by piece. Restoring it isn't just about fixing something old. It's a passion project, a way of breathing new life into a piece of history. Because of that, I've decided to dedicate all my time to it. I even chose to skip any upcoming breaks or holidays. Many of you are eagerly waiting to see the final result, and honestly, I'm just as excited. Instead of slowing down, I'm pushing forward to make this dream a reality. Let's take a look at the rear section of the car. It was filled with dirt, mud, and debris, and much of it had rotted away. There's no easy way to deal with this other than carefully welding and reinforcing every weak spot. Despite the challenges, I've managed to restore all the body panels after days of hard work. Next, I'll be grinding off all the remaining rust and prepping everything for the final stages of restoration. This entire journey has been filled with ups and downs. When I first bought this car for 6,000 yuan, I thought I had found an incredible deal. A vintage 1980s millionaire's car. I was so excited to get started. But once I brought it home and began inspecting it, the reality hit hard. The chassis was in terrible condition, with lower control arms and other key components completely rusted through. While some parts like lights, carburetors, and piston rings are relatively easy to replace, items like the lower control arms are much harder to source or repair. Even with these challenges, I'm committed to restoring this car to its former glory. Every small victory motivates me to keep going. Seeing the floors come together, salvaging the tools, or even just cleaning up a section of the car feels like a win. It's this mix of struggle and satisfaction that makes the process so fulfilling. I hope that through this journey, I can bring you as much joy as this car brings me. Watching it transform, step by step, is an experience like no other. Thank you for following along, and I look forward to sharing more updates with you soon. Let's keep pushing forward together and make this car a masterpiece. Hello, everyone. After countless hours of effort and dedication, I'm thrilled to share some real progress on this project. Both the driver's and passenger's floor panels are finally fully welded and restored. Take a look. Each new section was carefully crafted using sheet metal and shaped to perfectly match the car's original design. All the heavily corroded and rotted areas were cut out and replaced with fresh, sturdy steel. The final step will be applying a coat of primer and anti-rust paint to ensure long-term durability and protection. Now that the floors are complete, the next major challenge is addressing the car's exterior body panels. This means stripping down all the exterior components to get full access to the underlying damage. While removing parts, I stumbled upon something unexpected. A little pouch filled with tools, a spare tire, ropes, and padding. For most people, this might just seem like old junk, but for me, it's an incredible find. It's rare to come across a car like this that still has its original spare tire and jack intact. There were also pliers, screwdrivers, and wrenches tucked inside. Basic tools, but they feel like pieces of the car's history. While working, I also found an old battery tucked away. It's no longer functional, but it's a fascinating relic of the car's past. These little discoveries add so much character to the project and remind me why I'm so passionate about restoring vintage cars. Moving to the front of the car, I took a closer look at the hood and found multiple areas severely rusted and corroded. Repairing this will require careful welding and hammering to restore it to its original shape. It's painstaking work, but the satisfaction of seeing it come together makes it all worth it. For me, there's nothing more rewarding than watching this car slowly come back to life. This project isn't just about fixing a vehicle. It's about preserving a piece of history and giving it a new lease on life. That's why I've dedicated myself completely to it, even deciding to skip holidays and breaks to stay focused. Many of you have been following this journey and sharing your excitement, and honestly, it motivates me to work even harder. This isn't just a project for me, it's a labor of love, and I'm determined to see it through to the end. Moving to the rear of the car, I discovered it was in even worse shape. The entire section was filled with dirt, mud, and debris, and much of it had completely rotted away. There's no shortcut to fixing this. It all has to be carefully welded, reinforced, and restored. After a lot of hard work, I managed to repair the body panels and clean up the worst of the rust. Next, I'll grind away any remaining corrosion and prepare the surfaces for a fresh coat of paint. This restoration journey has been filled with its fair share of challenges and small victories. When I first bought this car, I thought I had found a hidden gem, a vintage 1980s millionaire's car for an unbeatable price. But the moment I brought it home, I realized just how much work it needed. The chassis was in terrible condition, with the lower control arms and other critical components rusted through. While parts like lights, carburetors, and piston rings are relatively easy to source, pieces like the control arms are nearly impossible to find. Despite these obstacles, I've remained committed to bringing this car back to life. Every small win along the way keeps me going. Fixing the floors, uncovering original tools, and cleaning up rusty components may seem like small steps, but they all add up to something much bigger. Restoring an old car like this is not just about technical skills or having the right parts. It's about maintaining the determination to keep going when things get tough. One particularly frustrating part of the restoration has been the taillights. The original ones were beyond saving. One was badly deformed and the other was completely non-functional. After days of searching, I managed to find 2 replacements that will work perfectly. It's a small victory, but it's these little moments that make the journey so fulfilling. Of course, there's still a long way to go. The next steps involve sanding and preparing the exterior for paint, applying a base coat to restore the car's color, and finally finishing with a top coat to give it that perfect, polished look. Every time I take a step back and look at the progress, I feel a deep sense of accomplishment. This car is no longer a rusted-out shell. It's transforming into something beautiful. Restoring a vintage car like this isn't easy, but it's one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. Thank you to everyone who has followed along on this journey and shared your encouragement. It means so much to me, and I hope that watching this project inspires you in some way too. Together, let's keep pushing forward. This car's best days are still ahead of it, and I can't wait to show you the final result. Hello everyone. Today I've got a tale of two tail lights, one brand new and the other salvaged from another car. The new one is in excellent shape, but the used one is a bit worn out. I decided to give the older one a quick refresh to bring it up to standard. It's small details like these that make all the difference in a restoration project. So let's get to work. I know many of you watching are eager to see this car finished as quickly as possible, and I completely understand. There's something exciting about seeing a vehicle go from rusted and forgotten to fully restored and ready to roll. But I want to remind everyone, this isn't a fast process. I'm not a superhero, and I'm not working with pre-recorded, perfectly edited videos. Every part of this restoration is done step by step, requiring patience, precision, and dedication. I truly appreciate the encouragement and support from everyone who has followed along. It's your enthusiasm that keeps me motivated to push forward, even when the work feels endless. Every day brings new challenges. For instance, the plastic bumper on this Fiat 126P has seen better days. Years of exposure to the elements left it faded, discolored, and covered in grime. The metal reinforcement inside had rusted badly, and no amount of scrubbing could bring it back to its former glory. To tackle this, I decided to try a plastic restoration solution. Using a sponge, I carefully applied the product, ensuring an even coat. The results were remarkable. The faded plastic regained its original deep black color and a smooth, water-resistant finish. This wasn't just a one-off process. I repeated it on every black plastic and rubber part of the car, including the door guards, wheel arches, and undercarriage components. Over time, these pieces had faded and discolored due to sunlight, rain, and oxidation. With proper care and cleaning, they now look nearly brand new. After many hours of effort, every plastic component on the car has been restored, and I couldn't be happier with the results. Next up, I'll reinstall all these pieces back onto the car. After finishing with the plastic parts, I turned my attention to the lighting system. Each component needed testing, adjustments, and some repairs. I checked the turn signals, headlights, hazard lights, and even the horn. Everything is now fully functional, and seeing the car light up again is incredibly satisfying. However, the journey to get there wasn't easy. The headlight housings, for example, were severely corroded. Replacing them with new parts would have cost around 3,000 yuan, and even used ones were priced at 1,500 yuan. Instead, I chose the more affordable route, restoring them myself. With patience and effort, I was able to repair the headlights, and now they work perfectly. There's something deeply rewarding about seeing all the lights come to life after so much hard work. The interior of this car has been another area of focus. Surprisingly, it was in better shape than the exterior. The seats, door panels, and dashboard weren't heavily damaged, but they were covered in years of dirt and grime. I used a multi-purpose foam cleaner to gently scrub and clean every surface. The results were astonishing. Everything looks fresh and clean now. Even the armrests, which had built up layers of sweat and dirt over the years, came out spotless with a bit of extra effort. The transformation from grimy to pristine is truly satisfying, and it breathes new life into the car. Once the interior components were cleaned, I reinstalled everything: the seats, door panels, and flooring. Slowly but surely, the car is coming together. It's no longer just a rusted-out shell. It's starting to look and feel like a proper car again. This process has required not only technical skill, but also a significant amount of time, patience, and attention to detail. Every small win, whether it's fixing a bumper, restoring a light, or cleaning a seat, feels like a step closer to the finish line. Restoring a vintage car like this is more than just a project, it's a journey. It's about preserving history, reviving something forgotten, and giving it a new lease on life. Watching this car transform from a neglected relic into something beautiful and functional has been one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. I want to thank everyone who has been following this journey. Your support and encouragement mean the world to me. I hope you've enjoyed watching this car come back to life as much as I've enjoyed restoring it. We still have work ahead, but we're getting closer every day. Let's keep pushing forward together, and I can't wait to show you the final result when this Fiat 126P is fully restored and ready to hit the road.